Welcome to the Strategy Mob Podcast. Tune in for everything you need to know to stay in the know regarding the automotive industry. Here's your host, Jason Harris.
Hey, what's going on, Podcast Nation? It is Jason Harris here, and thank you for joining me on another episode of Strategy Mob. Today, I have two very special guests. I have the one, the only, the oh-so-famous Mr. Jeff Hunter, and the brother that I thought I never had and found out that I had, Mr. Andrew Lemoine. Can I call you my brother? Is that cool? Is that awkward? Is that weird?
We're past that. Of course, brother.
I just figured we have kind of similar beards. I mean, I feel like people can get us mixed up. Like, I'm the plumpier version of you.
Yeah, I'm working on that. I'm trying to get the fitness game up with all the
yeah, I know. I'm gonna have to catch up with you on that
all
one,
the
man.
quarantine. Yeah.
Hey guys, for everyone out there that's watching and listening right now and don't know who you two fine gentlemen are, let's kick it off with a couple origin stories. Andrew, I'll start off with you. How'd you get started in this crazy little world we call the automotive industry?
Well, I got a job washing cars when I was 16, 17 years old. I did that for about 3 months, and I saw all the sales guys and gals driving nice cars, coming and going, wearing suits. I'm like a 16-year-old kid getting the deliveries ready. I'm like, hey, I want to be that guy. How do I do that? So I walked into the dealer principal's office and got him to give me a shot. And, just really, really came natural to me, the whole sales thing. So I fell in love with the industry kind of right away. And, 16, I got into it. So I've spent my entire adult life in the automotive industry.
That's awesome. I love how, you know what, I don't feel like nobody ever actually just like gets into the automotive industry. Like everyone kind of like falls into it one way or another.
Yeah.
It's like, you started washing cars and go, oh, that looks good, I'll go do that. But I've yet to find anybody that was like, at 9 years old, when I was playing with my Hot Wheels, I told my mom that I was going to be a car salesman.
Yeah.
It just never happened. Jeff, for you, maybe it did happen for you, Jeff. I don't know. I'm going to find out.
Well, my son right now at 5 would tell you that's what he wants to do. But I'm assuming by the time he's old enough to do it, that's not what he's going to want to do. But no, honestly, I started out retail. My dad owned a business my whole growing up, an power sports dealership, the Yamaha dealership. So I grew up in that. I grew up in the retail. I grew up in selling. I grew up around wheels. We live in a border city. My dad was around retirement age, and at the time, the power sports industry was quite interesting with the way the dollar is going, and you could literally go 5 minutes across the border, buy it for less than we could buy it from the manufacturer at full retail. So we're like, we don't know how long this is going to be. You know what I mean? I had a young family at the time, and I said, you know what, you retire and I'm going to go do my own thing. And it was a bit of a natural progression just to get over to the automotive industry. I fortunately knew the dealer principal of the General Motors store here, and I'm a GM guy, clearly. So the retail part, the talking part, all that kind of stuff transitioned over. It is definitely a different industry, but there was protection on the borders for automotive, which we didn't have on the power sports side, and that's how I ended up there.
That's very true. I do remember that. I hate to admit that I was actually one of those people that did jump border and go buy myself an ATV.
You couldn't help it though, right? So.
Well, you know what? But you're right though. We did have those protections, which was nice. Hey guys, the podcast is going to be kind of called, Quarantine Conversations. And, I'm beginning to rethink that name because, I think things are changing. The quarantine may not be the right word to use anymore, but I know that there's a lot of changes. So I would love to kind of hear from both you guys, because you are in different parts, of the country, of just kind of how things are going for you and just kind of what's the overall feel for, the industry in your guys' area right now. Andrew, I'll start with you.
Yeah, well, I love our industry. And, I love telling the story about how I got into it washing cars. Because one thing that I see, too much of online is like, you go to LinkedIn and you check out somebody's profile, and everyone's just like, CEO, or everybody wants to start as the head honcho, and there's no history before it. And see, for me, I love the story, man. I love the climb. To me, it's all about the climb. And auto is one of the most rewarding industries I think out there if you stick to it, if you commit. I'm proud. I say, look, I started off in the wash bay. So when I tell people, like, I've worked in most positions that you can get into a dealership, that's real. And, I think it just helps us as, as vendors now, Jay, in the vendor life, right, to just really just have a fundamental understanding of what goes on in a dealership, because it's actually all I've done. And for us, I think when we're going up, like when we go up against competitors or whatnot, I think it's a huge advantage that our company has. And, I'll segue into kind of your question, which was, sorry, I got like three things ringing here at the same time. I'll segue into your question, which was like, what's going on in the industry. And I think because we come from it and we are dealers, that, we've been able to have some super meaningful conversations with the dealers over this past 3 to 4 to 5 weeks. And yeah, you know what? People are getting tired. The quarantine fatigue thing. Obviously, everybody's ready to get back to business. Some people need to get back to business. Some of our dealers never stopped. Others shut down completely. It was a huge wake-up call. It was a huge wake-up call for the industry. It was a huge wake-up call for dealers. And there's a lot of good that's actually coming from this, is what I think a lot of people are starting to see. There's a lot of good. I've watched a lot of our dealers have taken this time to, really focus on things where the day-to-day never allowed them to do. So all of a sudden they had this pause and this break, kind of like those things that you always tell yourself, I'm going to do this over the Christmas holidays, but you never do, because Christmas holidays, couple ramen eggnogs and you don't get much done. So all of a sudden dealers have been focusing now on cleaning up like internal processes, right? Automation systems, playbooks, training manuals, onboarding, recruitment strategies, and dealers are getting all this stuff done that they, that the day-to-day stop them, from doing. So that's been great to see. We've been seeing dealers take, a head first approach to digital, which is great. A lot more open-minded now. And like I think I said in the last time that you and I jammed, like digital retail became real. Through COVID-19, digital retail became a real thing, right? And the dealers have to, they had to, all of a sudden just pay a ton of attention to this thing called digital retail that, they're like more than half of them were like, whatever, right? Like it's not a thing yet. We got all this walk-in traffic. And they didn't have enough attention on it as they should have. But truthfully, and I get it. I get the dealers that didn't have enough attention on it, Jason, because they didn't need to. The showroom the showroom was still busy. So you had all these vendors going around saying like digital retail. It's like, dude, like we don't have enough. We can't handle the ups on a Saturday, right? Just a walk-in. So COVID happened, and then it's like, okay, what's this digital retail thing that everybody's been talking about for the past 6 years? Because no one's walking in, right? So that happened. And you know what, man? I think that we're such a resilient industry. I've seen so many dealers just adapt, quick. I've seen dealers adapt. I don't think the amount of dealers that I originally thought that were going to go out of business are going to, because I've seen so many of the dealers just adapt and, and just heads down and just change and evolve, over a day, over a week, over a month. So it's been great.
I'm with you, man. I see a lot of adapting to technologies in the last, let's say couple months, right?
Yeah.
But what I am beginning to realize, and I think a lot of dealerships are beginning to realize too, is that just adapting to new technologies and new communication platforms is not enough. Like, I mean, I'm glad that, your dealership now has a Zoom account. Like, that's great. I'm glad that, you have some type of, let's say functional build and price, or kind of assisting someone in the buying part of their cycle, that they can do online before they come to the dealership. That's awesome, right? But I think the dealerships that are staying proactive are realizing the tech is not enough, and that they're going to have to process their way to profitability. And I'm beginning to see that's what most of the conversations are shifting to now. It's like, okay, cool. Hey, we were shut down for a couple months, or we were only doing by appointments, and we bought the tech that we needed so that we could support those initiatives. But now what, and I think that's the direction that we're going to head, and we're going to talk a little bit more about that today. But Jeff, I'd love to hear kind of, how are things for you guys up where you are? Dealerships open? Are they closed? Are they by appointment? What's kind of the overall situation where you are right now?
Well, you know what? It's a lot of confusion. Honestly, that's what a lot of it was initially, because man, things are so fluid and changing with the wind. And I would come in and I would do a video on our process, and literally 6 days later, 5 days later, we're doing something completely different. We're not necessarily prepared for. So a lot of it's been flying by the seat of your pants. Like, it's what are we doing next week? Where are we going to be? What's happening? We went from literally having 1 week we weren't able to do test drives. The next week, you're allowed to do them by appointment. To the next week, we're being open full bore. Like, literally, that happened from week to week to week. And so, and I kind of find it interesting, and I agree with Andrew about the adaptation I'm seeing from dealerships, which has actually been very surprising to me as well, because we're known to be such a slow moving industry for a lot of the things we do. I think, right? We've not, like, what I've seen in my infancy and in my small time in the industry is that we're slow to change, because we don't, like you said, we don't have to. We're already busy doing this. We don't have to do that, right? And obviously been preaching this for a couple of years with the big point on the social media aspect. But the digital stuff is definitely we've definitely increased in our dealership. What's interesting where we are, we're in a small market. We're in Sault Ste. Marie, so we're still a bit old school. And what I find up here is that we're doing the digital, but we're not doing digital from point of inquiry to delivery at the home. It's really been more just to help us streamline the process, to create a little less interaction within the dealership. But I find that we're still getting people that want to come test drive and have their pickup at the dealership. So again, that could be attributed to a number of things. It could be just where I am. It could be we haven't had a lot of cases here. Thank God. Let's keep it that way. But so I think it's all over the place. I don't really know how else to explain it other than that. And like I said, as of last week, now we're open full bore. Who knows what's going to happen, a week from now when you see like what's going on in Toronto, for an example, with what they call the COVIDiots, right? So as long as we can keep doing the social distance, then hopefully we can keep the ball rolling. We'll see.
Yeah, I saw that article posted in the Toronto Star. I was just like, oh my God, this is crazy. I don't know. Did you see it, Andrew? Jeff was talking about all the people that decided to just kind of get out of their house, and was it like 1,000 of them showed up at a park together? Like, what the hell are these people thinking? But though, Jeff, I think what you're saying is that it's leading towards the process. And look, as an industry, we're pretty damn good about creating processes. We are not good about being flexible in our process. That, I think, is kind of being the fundamental thing. So, that's actually kind of a good segue into my next question for you guys. We're talking a little bit about customer confidence in our process, in us. I see a lot of people out there talking about that, like, how do we build customer confidence? How do we rebuild customer confidence? How do we rebuild customer confidence? Which I think is great to talk about. And it's cool to see those articles on LinkedIn and people having those conversations. But the conversation I don't see a whole lot about right now is like, how do I keep my company's confidence? Like, how do I keep my employees' confidence?
Well, it's funny, you
really
know what,
Jason?
culture. What you did is you just answered the question. Okay, how do you keep consumer confidence? By being confident, right? By having a confident staff and a confident team. When people consumer confidence is at an all-time low. Okay, so now more than ever, when the consumers interact right now with the dealerships, they need to be speaking to people that speak with certainty and that are super confident about their dealership's ability to serve you, right? Through getting you a great deal on your new purchase, through getting you a great deal on the trade, through safely delivering you the vehicle and servicing you after. People don't want to hear ums and ahs and uhs and I'm not sure and I'll have to check and. It's like, you sound as uncertain as I am, and I'm scared. I'm fucking scared, man. I don't know if I'm allowed to swear in this.
Of course you can. It's an automotive podcast.
Yeah. People are, they won't leave their house. I see people, I don't get this one. I don't get the thing when you're by yourself in the car and you got your mask on. Like, I see people driving.
It's the weirdest thing in the world. Come on, guys. It's the weirdest thing in the world.
Guys, you're alone. Guys got the windows up. He's got the full mask on in his car. I'm going, this is nuts. Like, it's the fear. It's like people are so scared. So you need to exert confidence to the shoppers and to the consumers. Like you have to, right? So you're leading into the answer, and you do that from having a confident team. And how do you have a confident team? Is you keep the culture alive. And in fact, I'll tell you guys, this has enhanced our culture through COVID-19, and it's been because
it has for some. Like
I'm
Andrew,
talking about
for yourself, yeah, because I think you're going to see true leaders actually rise right now. And Andrew, I would definitely put you into that category if you keep your team incredibly well motivated. So that's why I'm going to try to pull out of you is like, how do you do that, man? I know a lot of people out there watching and listening, they don't know how to do that.
Yeah, Jason, and it's not just about motivation. Like I've started to tell people over the past couple of years, like if you need motivation, just go to YouTube. It's there for free, right? Like just type in, motivation 2020, you're going to find it. You don't have to pay for it. You don't have to sign up for courses to get motivation. You don't have to, you don't have to pay anything. Just go to YouTube and you can motivate yourself. You can motivate your team. It's so much more than just motivation. It's actually communication. That's the key. But see, where people are falling apart is like companies, leaders, and managers are they're not effectively communicating with the team daily, daily, at least weekly. I'm going to say daily, multiple times a day. You're not keeping the team, you're not getting the team involved. So where I see that our culture has increased, because it's been an adjustment. Like we're a tech company, but we were also all about that office culture, right? So that office vibe was huge for us. And it sucked, man. When we lost the office like 2 months ago now, 2.5 months ago. I mean, I say we lost the office. Still paying for the damn office, unfortunately, but it's just locked. It's locked up the street, and we can't go to it. And we had to adjust because that live culture, we used to feed off of each other, right? People used to love it. So now we had to do this. We had to do the Zoom thing and the Meet thing every single day. And then we needed to start figuring shit out. Okay. And what I find is you start doing that more as a team. And I found that we've started to include people in the meetings that in the office, maybe they wouldn't have been in the room, like maybe we wouldn't have included them, but like we've included them now. And like, I found that I'm actually getting to know, on a personal level, so much of our team even more through all this, because I think we've all had to let our guards down a bit. And, I had to humble myself as the CEO. I had to flex some humility because there was a lot of things through this where they were looking to me for the answers and I didn't have them. I didn't know. I'm like, I don't know, guys. I don't know what's going to happen. We're in this together. And I gave a speech on, being in the same boat about a month and a half ago. I told the team, like we're in a boat right now and the boat's taking on water. And I said that, you could jump ship and go find another boat, right? I can't jump ship. So I'm on this boat, I'm going to see it through. I'm going to see the course. I can't jump ship. But I said, but you guys can jump ship right now. Now I think all boats are taking on water, right? But you could do two things: is you could just sit back and do nothing, or you could grab a bucket and you could help. Guys, we had half the team go on CERB for a bit, and we just brought everybody back last week. Okay. But we had half the team on CERB, and dude, they didn't stop working. And to me, like that was such a just a statement to our culture and our belief and our buy-in from the team that like when you got people laid off, they do not have to be working. They do not have to be answering me in Slack or completing their tasks in Jira, but they are. And I'm like, so it was great. It was really, really great to see. But I think we really communicated, guys, right? And this is why, like, I've been telling dealerships, like, get Slack, right? Like you said, get Zoom, and I agree with you, Jason. Like, it's never been, you said the technology alone is not going to fix the problem, and it never has, right? The tech has never been the answer, right? Tech's just a tool, man. Right? The tech is just a cool tool, but it's never been the answer. People and process are always the answers, right? So yeah, it always is. So yeah, so communication now more than ever, because people are scared, man. People are scared. Customers are scared. Your staff are scared. and there's so much fear from the media. You know, I'm not going to get into
there
my
really
opinion.
is, isn't there? I mean, it's a little over the top at this point, right? You
Yeah.
know, as far as, you know, it's like, I know here in Ontario there's been an increase in cases and stuff like that, but it's like, man, they just. I'll be honest with you guys. I just turned off the TV. Like, honestly, I turned it off about a week ago because it was the same crap over and over and over again.
Yeah.
And it was just like finding some way to just dig a little deeper to make people just a little more scared. I was just like, enough of this shit. But hey, Jeff, I mean, Andrew, totally to your point, man. It's about communication. Like, you want to maintain culture, you want to create culture. That all starts with the communication. I mean, Jeff, you're a sales professional. And I really do. I really do consider you to be a very true sales professional. I mean, you are the owner and operator of your own business within somebody else's business. I mean, you know, Jeff, I mean, how do you keep yourself motivated? I mean, how do you keep your customers' confidence up for yourself? I'm curious.
You know, again, I don't want to, you know, grab up what Andrew's saying, but he made a great point, I think, when he first started, and you just have to have that confidence, right? And the ums and ahs, and like the one thing I caught, even just like in the bit I've been in the dealership and walking by other salespeople, and you hear like you know, I don't know what I'm going to get for that truck right now. The industry's weird. Let me, you know, let's, rather than just be like, yeah, man, we're going to get you what we can. The deals are fantastic on everything new, and you're not lying at that point. You have to exude that confidence and let people know, hey, listen, there's nothing to worry about. Business as usual, although it's not, but, you know, trying to exude that it is business as usual as much as possible. Again, I'm gonna go back to my social media. I that keeps me busy. That keeps me in connection with my customers. Lets them know I'm still having a good time, having fun. You know what I mean? And I'm not down on things. And just trying to, again, it's confidence, but it's also being positive and being upbeat about everything. Right? That's what I've noticed. As far as the dealership as a whole and dealerships, what I think we were just talking kind of momentarily at the start before we started this, and you're mentioning about a sales manager not being at a particular dealer, like at a dealership, right? And I think that's a massive mistake, because right now more than any time we need that to start from the leadership. Yeah, okay, I motivate myself, but there is a lot of salespeople that don't do that, right? And we need it coming from a place of leadership, a manager who can speak to all that. And give the confidence, and here's what we're going to do, and here's the plan, and then you're, you know, hopefully as a proper leader, those people are going to follow that as well, right? The people who may not do it on their own.
Hey, Jeff. Jeff,
yeah.
I want to add a spice to what you're saying right now. Okay, leadership doesn't come from titles. Okay, so leadership comes from acts. It's not what people say; it's what people do. And so if sales professionals are tuning in right now, if finance managers tuning in right now, and you don't have the GSM or the GM title in your store, does not mean you cannot lead. Okay, and you know, and really help pull your team through this and stick together. So if you've got managers in your store that aren't communicating, aren't pulling the team together, you do it. You start pulling the team together. I'm telling you, it doesn't. The biggest mistake people do is they look to the title for the leader. You know, I always say, hey man, the best way to get the job is just to start doing it. You know, a year and a half before I became a sales manager, I was like 20, 21, 22 years old. I just started doing the damn job. I just started doing the job. I'm out there I was helping all my peers. You need help with that trade appraisal here? I'll give you help. You need a help desk in that deal? I got you. Hey, I got you. I started doing it. Okay. Right. So what do you think happened like a year later when they're like, you know, we need a sales manager? It's like, Andrew's only, the kid's 21. It's like, dude, he's been doing the job for the past year. Just give him the job. Right. That's exactly what happened. That's exactly what happened. I just started doing it. Anyways, I wanted to say that, bro, because I heard you. And you're speaking, like you said, I like, don't ever even downplay yourself, Jeff, because you are a sales professional, and don't ever downplay yourself because you don't have a title like that, because you're a leader, dude, and you're keeping yourself motivated, and you can help motivate the team, the team around you. Your managers might need some motivation.
For sure. It's not even just the motivation. It's just a sense of direction right now as well. Because again, like I said, on the answer to the last question, is literally things are changing so often. We don't even know what we're supposed to be doing or not supposed to be doing, or what we're allowed to be. You know what I mean? So it's good to have that sense of direction. And like you say, whether it comes from a salesman who's just speaking up, who wants to get this stuff going, or if it's a manager. So no, it's a great point. That's actually a great point. Thank you for sharing that.
Well, I mean, look, this is the time that we're going to see the cream rise to the top, right? You know, and, you know, I consider this to kind of be the second winter of this year, where, you know, the floor room traffic is going to be really slow. And we're going to have to capitalize on every single opportunity that we get. You know, I don't think any dealership out there can afford to look at any opportunity up for a conversation and actually give it a score as far as how much time and effort they actually want to put into it. Like, I just don't think you can do that. I mean, you know, internet leads are not being treated like third-class citizens like they used to be. You know, people are really taking note and taking every opportunity. I mean, we got to squeeze the juice out of this as much as humanly possible, because, you know what, guys, I'm not 100% sure what will happen if we hit a second wave, you know? Like, I mean, we haven't even felt the economics of this yet. We're still dealing with the social elements of COVID-19. We haven't even felt the economics of it yet. You know, right now in Canada, I think we're at 19% unemployment, or almost 20% unemployment. And, you know, that's not even a totally accurate number, because there's just so many people that are still on furloughed or kind of quasi-hired or not quasi-hired. You know, so I think there's still a lot to change. And, you know, I think the people that are going to be in market for a car may not necessarily be in market for a new car. You know, I think the new car industry might kind of have a slap in the face coming pretty quick. I think people are going to be going back to pre-owned vehicles. We saw this happen during the recession. You know, right after the recession, we have just a monster, just balloon of pre-owned vehicle sales. And I'm thinking the same thing is going to happen for us this time around as well. But I'd like to kind of get your guys' thoughts on this, you know, as far as preparing ourselves for, you know, the used car industry. Andrew, I'll start with you, and Jeff, I'll kind of get your thoughts on how we can prepare that side of the business.
You know, I think that dealers are always looking for something to talk about, right? Salespeople are always looking for something to talk about. They're looking for the sale, their incentive. Well, guys, there's never been more to talk about than right now, and there's never been a better time to buy as a consumer than right now, whether you're offering up a pre-owned or a new car. You know, new car incentives are ridiculous right now. They're ridiculous. So it's a great time to you know, to buy a new car
if you can get finance for one.
If you can get, you know, if you can get finance. You know, the stress tests have gone up, and obviously the risk threshold. So that we're seeing the lenders change basically their practices and their lending parameters like week by week, right? So yes, you know, but the incentives are incredible. And you know, are we going to see a shortage of new car stock, you know, allocation? You know, I think we're going to catch a wave of that, you know, summer, fall, right? Because some of the plants shut down. So there's probably going to be a shortage in allocation. Also, I think that you had a lot of people pre-COVID that were in market and then retracted, got scared. So when things open back up, like, their need for a vehicle, you know, may not have changed. So they're now back in market, plus all the other people that were going to be in market at the time. So there could actually be a spike, you know, that we might experience as an industry here over the next, like, you know, like now, you know, and like June and July might be like, you know, like normally, guys, you know.
No. I'm with you on this, Andrew. I mean, I'm also thinking of the 1.5 million Ontario residents that rely on public transit to get from point A to point B, that are not going to be jumping into a bus or a train anytime soon. Or, you know, I mean, Ontario, as far as Canada goes, has the highest usage of rideshare programs of any other province in Canada. And I'll be honest with you guys, I Ubered everywhere all the time. I'm not going to be jumping into, you know, the back seat of some stranger's car anytime soon. You know, so I mean, I think there's going to be a lot of people that are going to be in market for this, and I think, you know, used car inventory is going to get sucked up fast if we don't act on it.
How about that percentage of the population? For example, I have a sister and brother-in-law who lived in Manila. They escaped Manila to come back home to Canada. They own a house here. That's great, but how many people have come back who are maybe working overseas or whatever, they're going to be staying here for at least a year? I'm literally dealing with my sister right now in terms of getting her a vehicle. You know, a used vehicle just to use for a year, you know, and then see what happens past that. They're not going to go out and buy a brand new, you know, $50,000 whatever. Or the people who live in Florida all of the year, and they're going to be up here. Hey, are we going to be here this winter? Our you know, our rear wheel drive vehicle is not going to work. You know, whatever it may be. We have people that are coming back even that don't either have a vehicle or have the wrong type of vehicle for having to be where we are as well. I know it's a small percentage, but it's still a part of the equation, right? So.
Yeah.
I think there's a lot of new audiences, and I think from an inventory perspective, we kind of have to have these discussions. We have to have strategies around this. I mean, Andrew, to your point, I think new car inventory is going to struggle at some point. Because no one's been placing orders. I don't know of a single dealership that's been placing orders. In fact, most of the dealerships I know have actually asked to postpone anything that they had in the hopper to be built. So they don't want any additional inventory coming their way. And then I think from a used car perspective, I mean, look at this. We've had dealerships now that have been almost 3 months with used cars just sitting on their lot. I mean, depending on your reconditioning process and your efforts, man, you're probably going to be dumping another $500, $600, $700, $800 into each one of those stinking cars to make sure that they're, ready to go again. I mean, I don't think people realize what happens to a pre-owned vehicle when you leave it there, and the brake pads get seized up and you're having to rework brakes and all this other crap. Like, the expense of everything is going to go up. I mean, I know some dealerships. I'm curious if you guys have heard the same. Some dealerships have actually seen this and started buying heavy. And then I've seen other dealerships have seen this and they're getting scared and they're starting to sell quickly, So I'm curious to hear your guys' thoughts on this. Buy or sell right now as far as inventory goes? Andrew, I'll start with you, and then Jeff, I'll ask you the same.
Are you liquid? Like if you're liquid, you're buying. If you're liquid, buy when the market's low, right? The problem is where most of the dealers will just get slaughters on the curtailments on the lines, and that's what they can't afford to do. They can't afford to grab these cars right now at the block and then hold them for 4 or 5 months. Yeah, exactly. It's just there's just too much uncertainty. But I think that with the dollar too, we could see export come back in a huge way, like which is super unfortunate. It is because it's now at a point where we just have to call it out and say, like, guys, it's having the vehicles to retail in our own backyard and in our own economy is far more important than getting, retail, ish numbers wholesale, exporting it. So I think export's going to come, export obviously is going to, is going to be a thing again. And inventory is going to be scarce, man. Like it's going to be super scarce. You should be turning your dealerships into buying centers, like CarMax's in the U.S. Seriously, buying centers, just like doing appraisals, digital appraisals for the consumer's trades, like anything you could do for vehicle acquisition. Dealers are going to need to put focus and attention on that for sure.
Jeff, what are your thoughts?
We're definitely sell right now in a sell position. I shouldn't say it. I don't know that aspect. I shouldn't say that. I mean, we're obviously always focused on the sell. That's what I am. So I don't always see the behind the scenes and what we should be doing or not. But we're definitely.
Are you concerned at all? Inventory may not be there.
New wise right now, no, but that could literally change overnight because again, we have this lull where we haven't been getting the orders, the inventory. So yeah, we'll sell through what we've got now, but to get the manufacturers to catch up, right? Especially us in truck country, like. One night we can have 100 trucks there. The next there's like 30, right? So it can literally change that fast on the right promotion. Obviously, there's good promotions going on right now, but it can literally change that quickly. So it's nerve wracking, but it's so uncertain. And I know the funny part is we have been focusing more on our used side. Sometimes I think that's like the redheaded stepchild that the used department, and a lot of my focus actually being back has been all on getting all of our used stuff up, getting videos on it, getting pictures of them all taken, and just really focusing on our used inventory online because again, we are getting more interest in it. And especially with used cars, you have to have stuff online for it, right? And with not having a lot of employees and letting a lot of people off, like I'm taking the role of doing a lot of that stuff now too. But again, we are putting a lot of focus on the used because again, it's one of the markets where people are a little, at least where we are. Again, I only know what my industry here is doing, and what I see is, a lot of fear in the sense of, well, are we going to have a job? Our major employer here is Algoma Steel, right? It's a steel plant, which we produce steel for automotive. And if we're not selling cars, they're not working there, and they're getting laid off. So I think there's a lot of nervousness, especially just the history of Algoma Steel and Sault Ste. Marie bring up and down and up and down. And people are a little bit nervous, so they're going to go out and buy a used vehicle to get them by for now. So there is a lot of focus on our used, but not so much for buying used right now. We're not going out and looking for it. Obviously we're still taking trades as on a normal basis from our new perspective, but we're not going out and from what I've seen, we're not going out looking for it right now. So
Well,
that's here.
We have to have the conversation. I mean, I think that's at the end of the day, the bottom line is that we do have to have a conversation around our inventory, what the levels are, and there has to be some plan, I think, put in place. Andrew, you mentioned something earlier about kind of lessons learned, and I think as an industry, as a business owner myself, and I'm sure for you, Andrew, and Jeff, and for yourself as a sales professional, I mean, there's been a lot of lessons learned in the last couple months. I mean, boy, I've had to really rethink a fair amount of, our product offerings, our strategies, our personnels. I mean, I've learned so much in 2 months. I probably learned more in the last 2 months than I probably have in the last 24 months of the things of do's and don'ts. But I'd love to kind of hear your guys' thoughts of, if you were to say, what was the single most important thing that you've learned during, COVID-19? Andrew, I'll start with you, and then Jeff, I'll ask you the same question.
Like what, personally as a company?
Yeah, as a business owner.
Well, so as a business owner, I mean, I learned how like much quicker I got to start moving, and it lit a fire. It lit a fire under my ass because, I didn't feel safe. So when the economy and everything was collapsing around me, I didn't feel safe for my family. I didn't feel safe for, my company, for our team, for our employees, for their families. Right. So, I realized that, I gotta start moving a lot quicker, and we got to start going a lot bigger and making bigger moves faster. So this kicked us into a whole like overdrive, turbo. The company, we just started going like nuts, so with products, with product releases, with partnerships, with company growth, like we gotta take this thing we have right now and 100x it. And I saw fear in everybody, dude, and you can't, like, the last thing you need to do right now is give your salespeople a reason not to sell. So you got to give people a reason to sell. You got to give people a reason to get up, right? To make that call right now. People need a reason and a purpose, and that's what you need to be doing is giving that. And, you guys were just touching on something, and it just like, a thought came to my head. Like, the number one thing that everybody wants to feel besides happy is safe, is safe. And, Jeff, you touched on something that might be kind of a smaller percentage, which is like all the snowbirds coming back now that might need cars. But you also touched on something that's massive, actually. And that was the population that was, like you said, Jay, was doing ride sharing and Ubering, right? And like that, and public transit, relying on public transit, which doesn't feel safe right now. And there's a safety factor of owning your own vehicle. There is. It's your own thing. It's your own domain. It's your own personal space. I don't have to sit beside, somebody on a bus, and if they cough, I'm freaking out, thinking I've got the corona. I'm done. I'm finished. So there's a whole, I think there's a whole market about to emerge that also wasn't going to be in market for a vehicle, that now they're like, you know what? I'm not getting back on public transit. I'm not getting back on. Like, if they're in any sort of financial position to do that, I think we're going to see a lot of people come into the market. And as an industry, we need to be ready to serve them, and help them out. So, and I think it's just going to add to sales. So I really think as an industry, we can have a great summer. I really do. I think sales over the next 30 days could just start to skyrocket. I really believe that. I'm not saying that from a place just to motivate people that are down. I think that there's like a massive opportunity here to have some of the biggest months you've ever had. As a store, and as an individual, like as an individual salesperson, I think you could do like, I think you could have your biggest month. Like in Canada, we usually experience July as like cottage season. Right. So like we get the spike in spring, and then like June, July, Canada Day long weekend, right? Sales kind of do this. Like, they're not terrible. It's not like January, February, but they peak back down, then fall, they come back up. Well, like, come on, man. The industry's down 75%. How much lower are we going to go? Like, I think we're going to start to see this through through times that, I think this could be your biggest July you've ever had, is what I'm saying. I mean that.
Well, and to that point, we have to be prepared to pivot, right? Like
Right.
I feel like we kind of get stuck into a rhythm, and I think if there's any lesson, one of the biggest lessons I've learned, from COVID-19 is that I have to structure a business and processes that are able to pivot as quickly as the world changes around it, and the world is changing fast. Jeff, you said it. 1 week to the next is sometimes the day to day, and it's just like, how do I build a business that's going to pivot? How do I build processes that are going to pivot? But Jeff, I'm actually curious from you. What has been the singular most important lesson you've learned so far through COVID-19?
It's gonna sound silly, but compassion, man. Like I think what I'd like to consider myself a pretty compassionate person, but I think that a lot of times I'm so focused on the next sale, I'm moving that I'm not focused on listening as much. And I think that's one thing that we're, as an industry, are having to do more, listen to everybody's stories, individual, what's going on right now, and being compassionate for them and not trying to force things, down their throat. I think we see that. The most surprising thing of all this has been the manufacturers and their advertising when all this first came out. Remember, I think you and I and Tyler were talking Champagne before about, like, listen, it's almost like they had a go bag ready, with all this advertising, this compassionate advertising. And, I think that people are going to remember how we handle this right now, how we as salespeople, how we as a dealership, how we as a manufacturer handling this. Obviously, it's a fine line to walk. You have to be advertising to a certain extent. You got to let people know what's going on. But you also have to be compassionate to know that, like, man, you can't be too forceful with some of this. And again, this is my own personal opinion, but you can't be so forceful, because I've seen it. It pushes people away more than it helps them. And when they're ready to buy, they're going to remember how people were handling this. So again, I think the biggest thing for me, again, I think I was a compassionate person. I am a compassionate person, but I think I've learned to listen more and focus more on what the customer need is, which again, I thought I did, but I don't think I was focusing on it as much as I have since all of this has kind of gone down. So that's probably what I've learned.
Oh, it's a great lesson. I think there's a fair amount of businesses that have learned the same. And if they haven't, that's actually kind of a shame, because it's a great opportunity to learn the importance of that and how that actually does benefit the bottom line. A lot of people say it doesn't. How compassionate you are with your local community or your customers has nothing to do with the bottom line, but it has a lot to do with the bottom line, and we're actually beginning to see that. And I think we will, to your point, Jeff, I think we will see that over the next 6-8 months. With that said, that kind of is a good segue kind of into my next question with you guys is, a lot of my conversation with dealerships right now has to do with cost savings. There's one thing I think everybody's looking for: more leads. And how can I save more money? It seems to be if I ask everybody, I'm like, what do you need right now? Here are the two things I need. I need to save money, and I need more leads. So let's talk a little bit more about the save money side, because, I think both Andrew and Jeff, you guys both have kind of ideas of how a dealership, can be saving money right now. Andrew, I'll start off with you, and then Jeff, I'll ask you the same question.
Well, if you're a Canadian dealer and you need more leads, give me a call. We can help you with that. If you're looking to save money, look, I think that a lot of dealers did a vendor audit through this for sure, because you had to really get down to the bare minimum. Like, what do we just need? What's the bare minimum we need? And I think that a lot of dealers trimmed a lot of fat. They probably realized that there was a lot of capital going out, a lot of subscriptions being paid that really wasn't doing much for the store. And you cut them out. So I think there's been a lot of in-house cleanup that's happened through this. I think that honestly, for those stores out there that are running lean, so I'll tell you what I've been hearing, and part of me struggles to say this because it means that people are losing jobs and not going to come back. But I've heard a lot of stores comment how they're actually selling more vehicles right now with less staff, because they've been running skeleton crews, and but they've been realizing how much of a lack of performance their store was doing before. Because if you're able to sell just as many cars with 10 people when you had 22, right? It's like, so I'm hearing that a lot. And I can't believe we have half the staff right now. We're selling just as many cars
in less hours. So it's like there's this efficiency thing that's really, people are really like, wow, we were not efficient before, were we? Like we weren't efficient as a store. We weren't efficient as salespeople.
as a team. Some of them, but I am hearing that. I am hearing that quite a lot. It's not just a one-off. I'm hearing that a lot, that the dealers are really shocked with their reduced staff, what they're able to produce. But I don't want to say I don't want to sit here and say, like, how do you save money? You let people go. That's not what I'm saying at all. I'm saying is, I think you're gonna save a lot of money through the efficiency that you've been forced to reveal through all this. I mean, obvious things is like do an audit of the tech. Like, I think some dealers had a tech overload.
Oh, for sure, 100%. I mean, I think that's a great exercise for anybody out there that's looking to save money. I mean, we're looking to save money, but we're also looking to ramp up, to your point, Andrew, to our selling season, which should be happening right now.
Right.
So I think every single piece of tech, every single vendor that we start to bring back, because for the most part, I mean, at least my experience with most dealerships was just shut everything down. I mean, everything stopped, all the way down to literally the bare bone minimum requirement as far as spend goes, just to operate a business. Now I'm beginning to see people slowly start bringing things back. But if they're bringing things back and people back with a mindset of efficiency, that might change a lot. That might change the tools that they're using, the vendors that they have signed up with, the subscriptions that they have, and in some cases, I hate to say it, but you're right, Andrew. Maybe even some of the staff that they've had. Was it really efficient to have 4 F&I managers and 3 sales managers and 22 salespeople? It's like I know it sounds bad, but it's just that's kind of where we are. I mean, as an industry, that's just is what it is. Jeff, your thoughts on kind of cost savings? I know one to be interesting for you because you do so much social media. Is I would personally love to see more dealerships embrace social and kind of back off of the addiction that literally it's an addiction to PPC, which is ironic because I run an agency. But no, I'm serious though. It should be the case. But I'd like to get your thoughts on that, Jeff.
Dude, my whole LinkedIn is a lot of it's based around social media and salespeople and automotive dealerships. And again, it's not to be all and end all for the sale. I fully understand that. But man, why are more dealers not empowering their salespeople to be advocates of the dealership, right? I mean, listen, they spend so much money on advertising. How about you spend some of that money on training these people to do things the proper way, to basically say, listen, like, if more people were doing what I was doing, and you have all of these different separate sections of your dealership that are advertising for you in all different kinds of way, whether it's a compassionate way, whether it's a funny way, whether whatever it is, an educational way, whatever it is, I try and do everything on my one channel. Like, why are more people not doing that? And again, I know that a lot of this has to come from the salesperson themselves. They have to be motivated enough to do it. But listen, some of these people just need to be educated. Here's how to do it, because you can have the motivation to do it, but not doing it right isn't going to help either, right? So you have to educate them in terms of how to do it right. And I just think that backing off a little bit on your normal type of advertising, focus on training and getting your salespeople to be your advertising, right? To be a portion of the advertising for the dealership themselves. Is a huge, huge, huge thing. Again, and especially now with the ability to see more people are online more. They're looking at things more online. They're going to like, I was just talking to my girlfriend about this the other night in terms of restaurants. A great example. Man, I don't ever go to a restaurant's website anymore to find out if they're open and what their hours are. I go to their Facebook page to find out what's going on, what their specials are, because it's being updated so much more quickly. Why are we not focusing more on our social media? Obviously, yes, our main thing is our website and stuff like that. But again, focus on training your employees to know how to do the social, so that they're getting in front of more people's faces who are on their computers right now anyway.
No, dude, I'm 100% with you. I mean, it's what we're really talking about is prospecting. Like, guys, I don't know about you, but when I first started in the business, like, I got like 2 weeks of training, which was really watching videos in a boardroom that looked like they were done in the early 80s, because people still had, what are those things called? Shoulder pads. But then when I hit the floor, it was like, here's a phone book, and here's a Rolodex from some other sales guy that's no longer here. And I had to prospect. Like, I legitimately had to prospect. And I hate to say that, but as an industry, I kind of feel like the art of prospecting has kind of disappeared. It's something that has to come back, and it will dramatically change, our industry if we really start focusing on that again. And to your point, Jeff, it all comes down to training. We just don't train on that anymore.
Yeah.
Like we train. I mean, Andrew, you train your team a lot on prospecting.
Well, it's funny. I'm tagging an article right now. If you go to my LinkedIn, I'm going to my article. I'm going to tag you in an article I wrote. And when did I write this? I wrote this damn article. How do you get to articles now? I gotta show you this because it's just so funny. They keep changing the UI up.
Well, I know they do. They keep changing the UI. I will let you continue to find that.
Yeah.
But guys, I know it's getting towards the tail end of our time. So, but before we go, I get to ask you guys one last question, and it's my favorite question to ask you guys. And I'm always kind of curious to hear everyone's response because things are changing so quick. So, Jeff, I'm actually going to start with you first on this. I'm very much so curious. What is pissing Jeff Hunter off?
It's the assumption that everything is totally normal. Like, you know what I mean? We have to do things differently. Things are different. We have to do things differently, at least for the time being, right? And I go back to that article, and again, it's not really automotive industry related, but it is, because if we aren't all being responsible right now to do what we're supposed to do, we're going to be back in this, hole again, and it's just going to further delay everything, not just the automotive industry, but everything, right? So that's what's pissing me off right now, is just let's focus on being responsible human beings right now. From a business perspective, from a morality perspective, from everything, but absolutely, especially just with what the heck is going on right now.
I'm with you on that, Jeff. I totally agree with you. All right, Mr. Andrew Lemoine. I know you're generally a pretty angry person, right? So what's pissing Andrew off?
I don't want to get into it so much, man, because I don't want to it's almost like the COVID. Your opinion on the COVID thing is almost like religion and politics. Like, don't talk about it. Here's what I'm going to say is that I'm going to say that over the past 9 weeks, my opinion on this has really changed. Okay, so 8 weeks ago, I would have given you a very, very different answer. I bought into it at first, and I'm not downplaying it, guys. Okay, but I am looking at the numbers. I am looking at the stats. I am looking at the global, what's going on, and then I'm looking at the impact that's having to the economy. And I'm not downplaying the disease, man. I'm not saying that we should be protecting seniors and that we should be protecting the vulnerable, but I am also looking at what's about to happen if we continue to do this to the economy and to everybody and the well-being of so many people. And it's like you keep hearing this, but it's like the economic destruction is far more devastating than the disease itself. So I'm pissed off at the fear that the media, like the way that the way that I think it's brought out the conspiracy theorist in all of us a little bit, like what's going on, because everyone's got to, because we've all, even those of us that don't usually buy into that stuff, it's like, what's going on here, man? Like, what's really going on behind the scenes? And we're all wondering, right? Like, this is something just don't feel right. Something does not feel right. So, I mean, I'm pissed off at the fear. I see so many people scared, and I guess that's what's got me just, we gotta find a way. So here's what I'm going to say. Here's what I'm going to say. What am I pissed off about? Dude, being pissed off is not going to put you in the right mindset, and state that you need to think clearly and focus on, on how to push forward and persevere. So what I'm going to say is, whatever's going on, you got to find a way to push through. Okay. So you got to find a way to push through as a store, as a business, as a professional, and keep selling. You got to keep moving forward through all this. And you know what? You probably got slowed down. And it's okay if you did. What I was saying to people 10 weeks ago is just please, 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 please don't stop. Don't stop. Don't just stop and go watch Netflix for 2 months. Okay. Even if you got to slow down, just keep pushing forward. And don't buy into the fear. Don't buy in. I'm not saying don't respect the disease. I'm not saying that. Okay. I respect your grandmother. I hope you respect mine. I don't want to, so by the way, when I go out, if I'm asked to wear a mask, I'll wear one. Okay. I respect other people's fears. I don't want to, if I wasn't feeling good, I wouldn't go out of the house. Because if I did have something, I wouldn't want to give to somebody that's vulnerable. So it's like, I respect all that. Okay. But I also think that it's really time that we start opening things up a little bit right now. And I think that, as a society, we take care of the vulnerable, but we also need to get back to, to this,
I'm with you, Andrew.
thing.
No, I'm with you, man. There's a fine line between respect and then just being fearful.
Correct.
And I'm with you that I don't believe that our media outlets out there have been leaning more towards the story of respect and leaning more towards the story of fear. And I'm 100% with you. The impact that this is going to have on the economy. I mean, guys, look, we're printing money that doesn't exist. It's just,
right.
just straight up. Let's just call it what it is. We're printing money that it's invisible. It doesn't exist. So what that's going to do to our industry, to our society is look, our country, it's something else. I'm with you on that one for sure. Hey guys, for everybody out there who's watching and listening right now and would love to connect with you too, what is the best way to do so? Jeff, I'll start with you.
On Facebook, I'm more local, so it's Jeff Hunter at Pro Chevrolet, and everywhere else, General Motors Jeff. So LinkedIn, YouTube, Instagram. I was dabbling a bit in TikTok. We'll see if I get back to that. But everywhere else, General Motors Jeff, you should be able to find me. Awesome.
I know I can get Andrew's TikTok handle because that guy's crazy on TikTok. Hey, Andrew, what's the best way to connect with you, man?
So you guys, LinkedIn, Andrew Lemoine. I'm on all social platforms at I Got Sold. Even the TikTok. My 7-year-old's got me dancing TikTok in a way.
You're pretty talented at it, man. I'm not gonna lie. You got moves.
Yeah, I'll try, man. I got 2 girls that are in dance, so they keep me moving. If I could just finish off on a strong note, I'd say that I think one of the biggest takeaways, guys, from what Jason, Jeff have said here is like, now's the time to focus on your people. Okay. You want to talk about how to cut costs. Okay. And cut expenses, right? Cut a couple of the tech stuff that you weren't using, but reallocate that into your people, right? Because like we said at the beginning of the call, technology by itself right now is not going to fix the problem. You need to have the people. And now is when you should be doubling down on the people in the store. They're the ones that are going to carry your store, your business, through this, and your customers. It's not the tech. Those are just tools to give your people to help them do their job better. Okay. But you got to really invest in your people. There's been a lack of that in our industry for a while. You got dealers that are paying for 24 subscriptions that they only use 12 of them, but they won't invest any money in the people, $2,000 to send so-and-so away or to invest in this course for this person. It's not worth it. No way. But I'm paying for 10 subscriptions I'm not even using. So just really I'd say put a focus on the people. They're the ones that are going to get you through this. They're the ones that are going to take care of your store, your business, your customers, and take care of the people. They'll take care of the customer.
I'm with you, Andrew, on that. I think that's a great note to kind of end our podcast today is double down on your people. And you'll definitely see the benefit of it. Hey, guys, thank you so much for taking the time to jam with me today. You guys have a wonderful day.
Thanks for having us.
Thanks, guys.